Okay, everybody, we're back here on News Channel 5 Plus on a Monday night here in April. Hope you are doing well and dodging the few raindrops that are left out there. Rhori Johnston with you. We are talking a very important topic, how to be a positive bystander, specifically when we talk about the issue of bullying. So we want to welcome back our guest, Limor Weinstein with the Bespoke Wellness Partners. She is in New York City, a licensed psychotherapist, many years of experience. Let's start with bullying, this issue of bullying. We know, it seems like it's been around for, forever, but only recently, I would say maybe the last 10 or 15 years, maybe a little longer, has there been a real push to not only shine a light on this issue, but the impact emotionally and much more that this can have on kids.
Right. This is such an important topic to talk about. And, so many kids and teenagers and even adults, right, experience bullying, and a lot of people don't talk about it for various reasons. And I love that there's light shining on this very important topic, because it causes a lot of emotional damage, and people don't like to even express what happened or talk about it, but the fact that this is talked about makes it easier for so many people.
What do you think are some of the key things before we get into like being a bystander, but the impacts, obviously it's a wide range of what bullying can do, especially at this age, not only maybe teen age, but especially during adolescence, when it's tough to navigate anyway, like what's going on, and now you have an issue like this, and if it's not taken care of, if someone doesn't intervene and help, it can be devastating.
Right. Yes. And especially, when teenagers are trying to figure out who they are, what they're like, and, when something like that happens, it can change so many things in the child's personality, like to just push things in and not express what happened can cause a lot of damage and a lot of trauma later on.
Right. So let's talk about this word bystander and what it means. And, I understand that this role, with a few key kind of bullet points, more tools in the toolbox, I say, just learning how to recognize certain situations. The bystander can be so crucial to stepping in, not only stopping it, but just making, such a positive long-term impact.
Right. So, there's clearly sometimes there are reasons that people are not intervening. And I think it's very important to kind of assess a situation and figure out and ask yourself, is it safe for me to intervene? Is it, the right time? Is it, just kind of really think about. But I think if you're not really doing anything, then the results can also be very, very dangerous. So, there is indirect ways to do something about it, and there is direct ways to help somebody who's in a dangerous situation.
And I would say, some people, even teens, are just blessed with kind of an innate knowledge, or maybe their parents, their family have taught them ahead of time. They're just ahead of their years, mature, that they are able to quickly read a situation, read a room, see what's happening, and understand, kind of assess a tough situation. But bullying, this is interesting from stopbullying.gov. A bystander to bullying, it says, is anyone who witnesses bullying, and that could be in person or in digital form, social media, obviously. They are present on average, it says 80% of the time. So a bystander has the potential to really make a positive difference, particularly for the youth who's being bullied. When youth who are bullied are defended and supported by their peers, they are less anxious and depressed. And this one I love: when bystanders to bullying intervene, bullying stops within 10 seconds, more than half the time, about 57% of the time. So that's amazing. That's a start. All it takes is to step in, but step in the right way.
Yes, yes. And there's a three important like rule, right? It's
Okay,
like, and
let's
I
go
like
through
that you
those.
talked about teenagers. Yes. So it's like, first of all, make sure that you're safe before you intervene, like being active and also being calm, like staying calm, right? So if you're watching somebody, if you're observing somebody getting bullied, and you yourself get stressed and worked out and maybe get aggressive, then, you're not really going to be helping the situation. So I feel like that, like, get yourself to a place where you are calm, where you're in control, right? Mm-hmm. And if the situation, if it's safe enough for you to intervene, then you can take action, right? So that's like the three rule. But even if you cannot intervene in the moment, right, there's always like, if you're watching something, if you're, you can speak up. I mean, you can either talk to the person afterwards, right?
Right.
And help him and comfort him, and maybe go and find an adult that can help and support them. There's so many things that we can do. And I think a lot of it comes down to like morale and integrity, right, as humans, and what, and what we can all do to help each other.
Like you said, there are probably a lot of young people out there who want to be that positive bystander and want to do something, take action and intervene, but again, they just don't have the knowledge, the skills, or the life experience to understand how to diffuse a situation the proper way, how to read it and make the right decisions. So this can really help with them, and obviously even adults and parents who need a refresher or may not know about some of these issues and how to go about stepping in. This says there are a number of kind of roles here for bystanders, and obviously a lot of times, sadly, people just choose to kind of stay outside of it, and they don't want to get involved. There's all sorts of, what are some reasons, though? I mean, obviously there's maybe fear of being bullied themselves or retaliation, just someone who doesn't want any kind of confrontation, right? That stress.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think like definitely fear, anxiety, and a lot of the time people just don't know what to do, right? And another thing is like, it's called like diffusion of responsibility, where you think that, somebody else will take responsibility and help. So you just kind of like step away, right? Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think a lot of the time people just don't know what to do. And they are, worried that if they do something, somebody might judge them for it. They, for example, like in one of the kids I work with, like they were getting bullied for their weight, right? Like somebody was laughing at them when they were picking lunch, and then they were just like crying, and then somebody tried to intervene and help, and then they got yelled at and somebody kicked him. So it's kind of like a very difficult situation where sometimes you want to help, but then you don't know what will happen if you actually do.
Right. And I have a line here that I'm reading on my notes. How to safely intervening, and this is interesting, could mean anything. It can be so subtle as just a disapproving look, maybe interrupting or pulling someone, random. Sometimes these things happen, even at a social get-together. You see just kind of an awkward situation, and maybe move right in naturally to kind of just take the person and cause a little bit of a distraction, say, hey, did you see this over here, and get them, just try to quickly, quietly do that. But when it comes to teenagers, there are some kids who want to be the defender and others who want to, stay back. So sometimes it's really hard for them to read it.
Right. Yeah. But I think, there are definitely certain things that, someone can do to help, in this situation. And, one of the things is like, you could use humor, right? If you're not sure what to do, you could just kind of think about something funny and like make a joke or something about it, but then kind of diffuse the situation. I mean, using body language to show like, disapproval to the situation. If you're not sure what to do, you can just kind of, like you mentioned, like use a body language or, facial kind of expression to show that this is not acceptable. And one of my most favorite skill that we teach all the teenagers, it's called the I statement, where basically if you see something happening, you say something like, when you do this, it makes me feel uncomfortable. So if, let's say, if somebody makes a comment, a sexist comment or a racist comment, or, you know, comment about somebody's body that is just like kind of rude and inappropriate, then like another person can say, hey, when you make this comment, it just makes this person, or it makes me feel like really uncomfortable. So I would appreciate if you don't make these comments. So there are different ways to say something that is not aggressive, that is not offensive. And, you know, and I think the most important thing is to, if there is an opportunity, to encourage some sort of a dialogue around the topic. Because I think people don't want to talk about these things. And I mean, some of the schools are trying to, you know, bring up these topics and talk about it. But even as a teenager or as a parent, to have a conversation about these things, like, and I think you mentioned earlier, like, if you were to see something, like, you know, will you do something about it, right? A lot of teenagers, they drink, they use drugs. Like, what if you watch somebody, you know, who had too much to drink? Like, what are you going to do? Right?
Yeah, it's probably really good to kind of do those scenarios, go through a few key scenarios over and over, which I tried to do, believe me, before my kids went off to college. But it's just a great thing for parents and loved ones to be able to do. We're going to take another break, and we will come back and dig in even a little more. Stay with us.
Okay. Thank you.